Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of No Bullshit Talks. I'm so pleased to be joined here today with Flobo Boyce. You have like a million different like job titles, right? So you're like a digital creator, entrepreneur, stand-up comedian, like you do everything. I feel like you must get this a lot, but you're a stand-up comedian, right? So people just come up to you and go, tell us a joke.
All the time. It's all the time. And it's frustrating because I'm not a one-liner kind of comedian. I don't have like, what do you get when you cross X and Y? I'm not that kind of guy. So it goes, listen, I can sit here and give you a whole premise, but then you're kind of like, oh, I guess that's cool. And it gets kind of awkward after that. But
I always find that so funny because stand-up comics take like months to write like, a routine, and they don't get how difficult it is. And they're just like, tell us a joke, you're supposed to be funny. And then but I don't do knock jokes or whatever. Like
I've never gone to a party and I'm like, oh, you're an accountant, you do my taxes. It never happens. But for comics, we get it all the time.
And like doctors get that a lot. Like it's just like, oh, you're a doctor, so I've got this problem. Can you take a look? It's like, it must be the most annoying thing ever.
Yeah, we're at a party. What are you doing?
Exactly. But how would you identify yourself? Like, what would be your kind of if you had to give like one title of what you do? What would that be?
Well, I always like to say I'm a live entertainment professional because of the different jobs I do, whether it's stand-up comedy or whether it's hosting, whether it's video game commentary, whether it's DJing weddings. It's in live with people or in live in that moment. So that's the best way to do it. It does sound kind of bougie in that way, but I think it's the best way to put everything in one box. Live entertainment professional.
Okay, so of all those things that you mentioned, because you used to do that esports like commentary and stuff, which I think is really cool, by the way. And you've got to have like a good energy to do stuff like that. Because I feel like with live stuff, it's like you have to maintain that energy. Imagine being like really hungover and turn up and be like, this is happening. It's really cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you're a CEO. You know how it is. You may spend hours working on a project, bags under your eyes, going to a meeting, like, this is the best app you have to get, or this is the best way you can transform your brand. And here's the reasons why. And when it's done, you're like, oh gosh, I'm gonna take a nap.
I do that all the time. And it's like, I've done things like I've had like really big pitches or big meetings, and I've even done like vodcasts or whatever, like and I've been like really sick and I've been sweating and I've been like vomiting just before it. I go in there and I'm like fine, I'm like, yeah, so everything's great. And then afterwards I literally fall on the floor. I'm just like, I'm all good.
Talk amongst yourselves. Oh.
So I get it, but like what you do is like gotta be a lot of energy. It's really cool. So you mentioned like a million things within that whole live commentary thing. Of those ones, which is your favorite? Why?
Oh wow, it does change every day, and things do shift. Because for me, I always thought I was a comedian first. I think I still am. But when I was basically sent home with the rest of the world 2 years ago, my job became, how can I put comedy to other things? So I started doing comedy podcasts, or I would do reviews of shows, but I'll add a comedic element. So I was a big podcasting guy for a long time. That's one of my favorite thing. But now, I mean, esports is just blowing up. And even though I'm an old man in those areas, I like to be able to share my passion for a video game or video games that I play personally to people who may not know what that is, and give it a really, what they call a hype feel, like a really big sport feel. So right now it's that, but it can change anytime, any week, any month, any day.
What do you think about that though? The fact that like video games are now like a thing, like a career path. Like these guys streaming stuff on Twitch are multi-millionaires, right? And like all that time when they were a teenager and their parents are like coming in their room going, get off that PlayStation, like blah, blah. Who would have thought that it would turn into this, right?
It blows my mind. So I am an old man in gaming in my 30s, which is so sad to say, but I come from a time where my parents, they scrimped and saved and got that NES Classic, and was, you do it when your homework's done, 1 hour. And now there are kids who are pulled out of school and are homeschooled to be professional esports athletes, and there's like fans that travel with them. It's such a great time for that, because I know growing up it was like you had to play a real sport. Now video games are a real sport, and it blows my mind. Here in UCLA, here in Los Angeles, where I'm recording this, UCLA has put $3 million into your esports program to as a recruiting tool to get professional players at the collegiate level. It's just bananas.
I can't actually fathom that at all. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't even understand video gaming. Like, I mean, I do, but like, I can't imagine that you want to sit there and watch a screen for hours and hours and hours, like your thumbs must bloody kill. Like it's just like it's just like I feel like you get more injuries with your thumbs than you do like on an actual football field. It's like, what absolutely.
The hell? It is like this, the sweat and working with a team and being with the communication or comms with them. I'm going left, you're going right for those shooting games. That's where the hype comes from. So like, I understand that because I'm from that era where games were just completely leisure, that when I commentate, I try to basically interpret what's going on for those who may not be hardcore gamers. And so I go, here's why this matters. Here's why this person's sweating. This is a mistake for this reason, to really get that whole casual audience in. I think that's really benefited me well personally in that, because I get it. I remember going to the arcade with 4 quarters, and if you were done, you were done. Go home. It's over. There's no hours upon hours of playing, so really cool.
But I love that you've actually made it so it's for the masses to join. And I think that's so important. I think that's so important with any of these sort of things, like new creators. That's how you get more people into it, like you were saying. And for me, this really resonates because I used to be like a professional chess player, and chess is like one of those it's a weird thing. I don't know if you've ever tried commentating on chess, but oh my god, that is like a totally different level, right? And it's like, it's intense, it's complicated. It's how do you get like the masses enjoying a game like that, which is so many different things that's going on.
Oh yeah, so chess commentary is a very, very unique because of the slight commentary I've seen. It's like intense, it's like in the moment, it's kind of like, oh, you don't want to do that there. It's when you mess up, they'll let you know. So it's kind of like this. It's all about a psychological aspect of it. So there's moves in chess that maybe the players understand, but someone else I may not know. And same with video games. There may be a gambit or some kind of move that everyone knows what's happening, but someone outside may not know. I usually go for the time element. Hey man, this happened late in the game. We have this much time to react to this, or even a psychological element. You have a plan, but now they did this move, and you got to ask yourself, you're person number 2, what do you have to do to counter that? And those are things that everyone gets into. My sport is professional wrestling. So I bring professional wrestling to it. I would go, hey, look, that's the move. How are you going to counter? I think that's a lot easier to get on board than being like, I can't believe you castled so late in the game. I don't know about you, bro. That's a mistake. I
am so on your wavelength. I love that. I want you to do commentary with me. It'd be so much more fun. Like, honestly, it's like, I watch chess commentary and I get bored. Sorry, guys, all the people I'm offending who are actually my friends. But it's like, it's so difficult. I mean, the people who do it, they do it well. They do it really, really well. So there's also like a chess commentator who I'm a big fan of, and I'm actually gonna shout his name. It's Grandmaster Robert Hess. He does loads of commentary for chess.com, but he also did sports commentary, like a sports commentary at university, for example. And I think you could so tell his voice is so like that. It's great for sports commentary. And I just think he does it really well, like in terms of the drama that goes with it, and like I said, the general stuff that goes with it. It's less about and it's all the technical moves, and that's what I can't get on board with. Is that I feel like as a lay person watching it, and they're like, bishop takes e4 there, but after this, and they're going about all this stuff that, like you said, is just not really relevant to people who are not into the game that much. And I feel like there should be chess commentary for chess players, and then there's chess commentary for the masses. And I think that's what needs to be done. And I talk a lot about this because chess wants to be more mainstream, and I think it's going to struggle because of how complicated it is, and I think how technical it is. But yeah, if you could do commentary like that and make it more generic so that everyone can understand it, I think it'll do so much better.
What I like about chess specifically as IRL or in real life game, even you can play it virtually, versus esports, is that it's eerily similar in structure and format, and that there are camps where people have their team, they work out like MMA fighters. People are really about their ranks. No one goes, oh, I'm Joe. They go, I am international grandmaster. They're like really serious about it. Same with video games. You have a rank. If you're champ or supersonic legend or platinum, people say that when you enter a contest. And it's so much fun to watch the similarities. It's almost like we've gone full circle in the way we, play our games.
I love that. So true, actually. It's like, it's such a like entitled thing. So it's not just like, oh, hi, I whatever. You actually do say the title of them. It's crazy.
Right. I love it. I can play chess. I can't win that chess. So I come from an air of respect.
Yeah, but you can commentate on it. I think that's a big skill. That is a big skill. I gotta see this happen. I'm gonna make it happen someday.
Let's do it.
But I want to know again, then, so in terms of like your Twitch stuff and all this stuff, what do you think the future looks like with that sort of thing. So I think it's a strange place. Like I said, 10 years ago, all those sloppy teenage sons, I bet their mums are like, can't believe their luck. They're like the highest paid people, entertainers in the world, right? So what do you see? Do you see this staying, like, do you still see this building? And like, what do you think it's going to look like with the metaverse and all that stuff coming up now? What do you see this future looking like?
Again, I benefit from being an older person going back, because those commentators, those Twitch streamers in their teens and 20s are really thinking this as a viable career path. There is a dream in life to be a YouTuber for Gen Z. And so when that happens, there's like many different paths within that. You can be a commentator, you can be a content creator. A lot of these esport teams are looking for people just to go out there and make videos and comedy pieces to get their name out as a brand. And these brands are valuable. In the United States, there's a company called AEG. I think they own a couple football teams in Europe. They own the LA Lakers. They have a Overwatch League team called the LA Gladiators. They own an actual esports team. So just being able to hire people to make content for them, it's not going anywhere. I do think it's cyclical. I do think there'll be ups and downs, and maybe games can contract or new games can be released, like how Valorant came out 2 years ago and really changed the game for first-person shooters. But I think it's pretty much here to stay. Whereas some careers like TV repairman are gone forever. Now your kids could be esport content creators. That's a viable way to make money.
So on that note, how does a kid like make money do so? Like, it's so bizarre that like on careers day it's like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, but it's like, no, I want to be a content creator. That is now a real thing that is attractive. Well, I say it's definitely not easy. It's easy to get into, as a hardly any barrier to entry. It's bloody difficult to actually be good at it, obviously, and that's what people don't realize. But how would you recommend someone do that, like, as a career path?
Yeah, so you have to, one, do it and do it consistently. So one of the craziest things that kills anyone, and this is the podcasting thing too, is that you have to treat yourself as a network. If you think of your favorite TV show and if it comes on air whenever it feels like it, you're not going to tune in. If you know Tuesdays at 8, this is my time, I'm streaming at Sunday mornings from 9 to 11, whatever, no matter how infrequently, how often you do it, if you do it consistently, then people will come out there and support you. And always find a niche. One of my most popular podcasts is about professional wrestling, and it's a show called Draped in Gold. And I can tell you, for those who don't know, there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts about wrestling worldwide. But what I do is, our show focuses on a very small promotion called NXT UK, because no one watches British wrestling in particular. And we, two guys in Los Angeles, commentate or recap this show coming out of London, which is like,
what? I didn't even know we had wrestling.
Yeah. And it's like 8 hours away. So it's like 12 o'clock p.m. on a Thursday afternoon here in Los Angeles, where we're commentating it. And so people who are like that particular show look for us, and we're the only podcast that touches the show right after it goes live on air. We got a fan base that way. So content creators, find the niche you love, or else it will be work. And if you have a schedule, make sure that schedule is followed.
I think that's some advice that loads of people have said about that, consistency is always key and all that kind of stuff. And I was just thinking about it when you said about the channel. I was thinking, or you could release a season and get it like on demand, like Netflix. I was thinking, because that's the other thing, because it's true. Like, at least when you know a show's at Netflix, you have a whole season.
Absolutely.
That could also work too. Like, if people could binge it, like it's so, I guess that's
my
it.
My first podcast was in seasons. Yep. Like Halo, every Monday, every month, bam, 5 episodes, bam.
That's quite, so again, so it works. Like, it's just consistency in general anyway. And so I love that, because mine's really new and I'm still learning, but I made, like, I'm quite competitive, and even with myself. So I was like, right, this year I'm going to start a podcast. I wanted to start one for ages. In fact, a couple of episodes I actually recorded over a year ago, which is really bad. But I finally was like, I'm gonna launch it this year. I've decided I'm going to launch it in January, and then I'm going to release an episode every week. And that's what I've done so far, and I'm still going. And I'm like, great, this is so I'm trying to be consistent, but obviously I know it takes time to build an audience. But absolutely, podcast is one thing, but like, say, there's like content creators in terms of like influencers, like YouTubers, like I said, to people on Twitch, like, so other than consistency, like, where would you start? Like you said, to find a niche that you enjoy. And I think that's huge, because if you don't enjoy it, it's quite clear that you've got to have passion for it. Otherwise it's just not going to work. Yeah. So like, because like a lot of people feel like they're not good at anything, like, you know, they don't feel like they've got anything to give. But I feel like everyone's got something to give. And like you said,
Absolutely.
you're in the most randomly so tiny niche, but actually they work really, really well. So they could be the best at something so obscure, and then they could build up a following. So what would you say to those people who really want to do this and feel like they've got something to give, but they think they're not good enough at anything?
So yeah, there is very much a link between content creation and self-esteem, because you are the engine for whatever you do. So if you're not feeling yourself on any level, or even the mental health, got to take a break. But I'll give you an example. One of my friends I went to college with, or there's a university in England, went to university with. She is a realtor in Florida, and she works out of Cape Coral. And she's like, I don't know, no one really cares about me. I'm just trying to get my listings out there. And I go, you are somebody who lives in Florida. Just post that, and you don't really know what that niche is. And when someone sees you in this warm state with these giant homes, if I'm freezing my tuchus off in Chicago in the middle of the winter, I'm like, I'm gonna check this person out. So there's a lot of things that you're into, the things that make you go, I'm kind of into it, but I'm not sure if anyone's going to be into it. That's what you have to lean into. Because again, I'm a guy in my mid-30s, and I talk about video games, professional wrestling, Star Trek, Netflix. These are things where I used to be embarrassed. I used to get like made fun of for being into wrestling and Archie comics. Like, I love Jughead Jones. Once I lean into that and go, look, this is goofy, but it makes me happy, then it won't feel like a job. Because you start chasing the clout. If you go, I'm going to do a workout Instagram where I'm just working out all the time, and you're kind of like me, you like runs here and there, not about that life, it's going to seem like, oh man, it's content day, son of a gun. You know what I mean? Just where I get up now and I do the things I like, I go to bed with a good tired. Like, you know what? That was a job well done today. I had 2 shows about Star Trek, I talked about esports for a day. I'm taking a nap.
And you never know what might just blow up in the world. So like you just mentioned, you used to get ripped on for like liking Archie comics. I used to get ripped on for being a chess player, and now Netflix made both of them famous. Like you've got Riverdale, you got the Queen's Gambit. They're 2 of the biggest shows on Netflix. It's
absolutely.
Like, now they're cool. It's like, so you just never know.
They'll come crawling back. You know?
Now it's like the reaction's so different. It was like, I would never tell anyone I play chess, and now it's like, oh yeah. You know, I play chess, I play for England. They're like, oh my god, so you're like the real Beth Harmon? I'm like, well, no, not quite, but you know, like now people think it's cool, and it's like it's exactly. So strange. The perceptions is just unreal. So, but I love that. I love, like, you know, I think that it is hard, and I think that you said the self-esteem thing, I think is really important. I think you've got to have a lot of confidence to do stuff like this, and you know, imposter syndrome kicks in for a lot of people. It's so real, and you know, you gotta get through it. I feel like being a stand-up comedian, though, I think so many people think they can do it because they think they're funny. Like, I mean, I've worked with people who, like, I've worked with someone who apparently was a stand-up comic, didn't think he was very funny, but you know, fine. But like, you know, I do feel like it's a really tough gig, and I think people underestimate how tough it is. But you've got to get up there on stage. You've got to impress them so quickly. Like, your opening's got to be so quick, right? Because if you bomb in the first bit, no one's actually listening to what you say after that. And it's like, how do you deal with the hecklers? Like, run me through your preparation to get up on stage and do a set like that, because oh my god. Like, well,
step one, it's absolutely terrifying. No. To answer your question, anyone can do stand-up, and like the actual mechanics of doing it.
I don't think I want to.
Anyone can do it. I think the mistake people make is, though, I want to go on stage and be funny. Jokes are actually secondary to doing stand-up, which is the thing I had to learn years into. Because when I first started, I was like, okay, got 5 minutes, I'm gonna jump on stage, I'm gonna do joke, make a laugh, call it a day. What happens now with humor has shifted. 30 years ago, it was about jokes. Seinfeld, Jay Leno, hey, can you tell me a joke? What has happened, and a lot of it can be attributed back to the original Office, right? Ricky Gervais, that kind of class, is that humor is really, people want to know where it's coming from, the source, reading the back label of thing, what perspective. So I would say the most important thing about being a comic now is being able to entertain, have people connect with you. So you can come out there and be absolutely awkward, not tell a joke at all. But if you have the right mannerisms, the right confidence, people go, this guy's goofy as heck. I'm going to sit there with them. You know, it's like, what's he doing? You know, Andy Kaufman was a legend for that. This is before that time. So when it comes down to that, I understand. I think it's like being a firefighter in that way. You can practice your jokes, you can practice your technique, you can practice your craft, you know it works, but you have to treat the audience with respect because they can turn on you like a wild blaze of fire and totally envelope you. And there's times, rarely in my career, when you've bombed the first minute, you can work it out by saying, hey, look, this is what I'm doing, this is how I feel awkward, let's work through this, and you can get the crowd back. It's not either or. However, if you are heckled and you get like dunked on and you just take it and you go, I'm sorry, then it's done. That fire is totally enveloped you.
Respect's gone.
Down
Yeah.
your house. Keep it real. It's like being a teacher. You got to make sure, okay, you're heckling me now. What's wrong with you? And I think one of the coolest ways about dealing with hecklers is that you can really call them out. Like you're coming always to a comedy show to not laugh. What's wrong with you? Hey, look at this guy over there. You know what I mean? He's out there just doing jokes by himself to no one in particular. And everyone goes, okay, this guy's being rude. Let me go back to the guy who's professional, who's actually here to tell jokes and move on. But yeah, it really is coming down to respecting the audience, respecting what you put the time and work in as a crafts person and just writing it out.
I love that. And I feel like you said, I think it's relatability, like everything that is to do with it. So the comedians that I think are funny is because I'm like, that is so true. That's the bits when it's funny for me. It's like when I'm like, that's funny because it's actually true as well. You're laughing about it because it's relatable, not because I just made up some scenario and it's like, it's quite funny. Yeah, okay, right. Those are funny too, but for me it's relatable. And I think back to business and how, like, I'm just gonna relate being a stand-up comic to being a business owner here. I don't know how, but
very similar.
I mean, like, I feel like it is. You're telling me this. I feel like that's actually very true. But I feel like as a business owner, I am on display the whole time. I am on display there for hecklers as well, like them to give me shit, like be like, why are you good at what you do? Like, yeah, like, you know, because that's what the hecklers are doing. They're also trying to be funny themselves, and they're usually the insecure ones are trying to put you down to like kind of make themselves feel a bit more superior. I feel like the same thing in business as well. I feel like I get a lot of people who try to put me down, try to show me up, to just try to show how much they know, and I have to like prove what I'm doing. And I feel like, you know, as if I go out there and I write something on LinkedIn, for example, like people saying Jojo joke, like a lot of people's tactics on LinkedIn are just like, oh my god, I'm amazing, this is what I do, this is what I've achieved, this is what I've achieved. And I feel like a lot of people don't relate to that. Like, yeah, okay, that might be great, but I get out there and I'm actually quite real, and I'm actually saying, like, you know, right, so actually I had a really crap week this week. This is what happened. But I learned this and I learned this and I learned this, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to beat this and I'm going to get better. And like a lot of people criticized me for that approach before. They said it was too, like, it put a bad light on my business because I was honest about when our business wasn't doing well. But then I would talk about, you know, what I learned from it and how I bounced back. And other people wrote to me going, your posts are inspiring, they're all so authentic, and they really resonated with me and they helped me. And that's why I do it, because I know there are business owners out there who stress over things that I stress about, and they just want to know other people are going through the same thing, and that it's okay that on the other side there is a silver lining. And I feel like that relatability is what has helped me power through and helped me like build up a better personal brand. And I don't know,
absolutely.
Yeah,
the people who are most insecure about their space worry about the actual craft. Like, oh man, I went to school too, let me show somebody up to this meeting. And really it's people that have that end experience and go, hey, look, this is what I learned and this is how I applied it. Same thing, perspective makes everything easier. So when I have a problem, you go, I wonder what Sabrina would do. Hey there on social media, look, I heard your speech, you said you have something similar with your business, you came out looking fabulous, how exactly did you do it? Let me know. And I think that's way more valuable. That's a social currency you can build with your clients. And on stage, same thing. Hey, look, when I do a joke in the bombs and it's early enough where I can do it, I can be like, okay, you guys like that joke, moving on. And then people go, okay, he gets it, he understands that joke missed, let's see what he has next. You know what I mean?
I want to know a joke that bombed. Do you remember? You must remember, because it must be painful, right? That feeling of being like, oh, everyone's going to crack up at this and you're waiting. There's like nothing. Like, how does that feel?
Well, I would say most times I bombed in my career, thankfully, is because I'm like doing these shows in weird places. Like one time I was in a brewery and there was like a forklift behind me, no one heard anything. Or I was on a golf course one time and I was like, and you're like doing jokes. But one time I did a joke that I didn't think, I thought it was so stupid. Like I wasn't trying to get like a big belly laugh. I thought it'd be kind of like kind of like grown over joke. I said, yeah, man, I had this bit about what happens if I had like soccer commentators follow me around, right? And because the whole thing is like I can't do a British accent, but I love how British commentators speak. It's kind of weird. I'm on a British hosted show now. I like how British because they use like big words at weird times to really emphasize their points. Like, it's never like, wow, what a shot. It's like, oh, it's a salubia strike there. Like, it's really weird to me. You know, a fantastic display.
That's
you know,
true.
it's like, why are you throwing these SAT words?
That's true. They'd be like, that's an astronomical display of defending right there. Like,
I need a dictionary. So I was on stage and I said, imagine me like trying to go on a date with my girlfriend, but I missed her anniversary. And it's like, oh, Flopito missed it there astoundingly. And everyone's like, you missed your girlfriend's anniversary? Boo. And I was like, no, wait, that wasn't the joke. Why? Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I made it up. It was a weird time to like me bail on this joke and plead for forgiveness in the middle of a show. So,
oh man, and I feel like that is like you have to be really quick-witted, because it's like, okay, you could also then try to spin that. And it's like, oh yeah, missed an anniversary, but, and then like have a kind of funny quip to like make it back for it. And I think if you've got that, then you could kind of do it. But it's gotta be hard. Like,
absolutely.
And you gotta like emotions. Like for me, okay, so for me, it's like an emotional thing, right? And like everyone hates the fear of rejection. Everyone's scared of rejection. I can't imagine a single person out there go, actually, I quite like being rejected. You know, I could do that more. I think it'll make me a bigger person. I don't imagine a single person in the world ever saying that, right? So I would like to think, right, that, you know, this fear of rejection, like it should be able to build you up. And like, what do you do and how do you handle them? Because I feel like it's the same in business, right? And like, you know, you lose pitches, you try to like, you know, ask someone, oh, like for example, in art, my job, I do like creative agency. So we like obviously say people want their websites done or digital marketing, and we obviously pitching our services. And if they're just sort of like, no, sorry, we're just not interested, or actually we looked at your portfolio, just not good enough. Like that's never gonna, like, it's never gonna be nice hearing that. I don't think you'd ever get used to it. But you must like have to deal with that. Like, how do you deal with rejection? Like, what would be the right? Because I think that's for me is like the emotional side of thing. That's hard to take all that stuff. So how do you deal with the emotional side?
In business or on stage? Because they're a little different, I think.
Okay, well, both. I feel like on stage, it's more raw, it's quick, and it's like how, like, because for me, it's the on stage things that quick. I'm so impressed at how comedians can do that and bounce back from it, because it's like insulting. You could almost be offended. You could sit there and cry, but you have to like really be quick.
Right.
And it's
exactly.
like, and it's like for me, that's how I feel like I say if a client says something really nasty. Like I could sit there and be like, oh my God, that's actually really mean. I could sit there and cry, but I have to be really quick and professional and act. So how would you like do that on stage first and then maybe relate to business?
Oh, absolutely. I think my technique on stage when that happens is really address. So in that particular moment, I was like, oh, I didn't know all you guys were just lovebirds here. You guys never messed up. Never guys forgot a date. And I kind of turned that into my next bit about being in a relationship. So understanding you messed up, acknowledging that, and then quickly pivoting is something to go, okay, guys, we're still having a good time. That one missed for whatever reason. But it's a little different when you're rejected professionally. If someone goes, hey, look, we're going another direction, or budget cuts, those are the big two, like indefensible ones, right? You're kind of like, I don't know what this direction is. I don't know what this budget is. So I can't really you can ask. And I know some people say you should always ask what that is, but I don't. If you're going to tell me if it's a different direction, if you're going to tell me it's budget, then you're not helping us anything. I'm not going to beg and plead, because I know I have years of training and I have expertise and I have happy clients. I know I do a hot service. I don't know what your direction is, but it's going to be pretty bad. No, I'm just kidding. But if someone gives something specific, hey, look, we saw your stuff and it's just not good. And that's happened to me recently in the DJ space. Because I do weddings, and weddings are a little bit different than club DJs, but my mixes are really the more show what I can do. And someone goes, oh, we're not really feeling this. And you're like, feeling it how or why? I think there it's okay to have a dialogue. Is it my song selection? Is it the mixing? Is it the fact that I respond to email in 2 hours instead of 6 hours? Let me know where I can work on for the next client. I think when it's very small like that on that level, you can have a place to ask and how you can put it in there. And I think give you a reason and you put off your BS detector and go, oh, there's making something up, then you can trust your instinct and go, nah. But if someone goes, hey, look, man, this mix was great. I'm not saying it happened, but this mix is great, but it sound kind of distorted. You go, okay, sound note. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your candor. I always use the word candor because it sounds like you're not being defensive when you say that. Thank you for your candor. We'll talk to you later.
I think like if you can, I think like constructive criticism is great. Like, and I always want to know stuff. And like, you know, we had a phase last year and I basically lost every pitch that I went to. It was really hard, but I lost every pitch because I like got advice on how to pitch and what I should be doing and how I should be running my business. I thought I was being a good student, so I followed everything that they said to do, and it just wasn't right for me. And it just and it was clear that obviously I was trying to do this, but I wasn't comfortable. But I always ask for feedback, and like I said, sometimes it's like they'll be like, oh, your price was just too high. They just say that because they don't want to actually say anything like actual constructive. But I actually think that real constructive criticism it hurts at first, like, and no matter what, even if it's constructive, it still hurts. I feel like when they go, actually, this wasn't that good, and I'm like, oh man, and I'm like, I feel like, but then I'm like, great. Let's never let this happen again. We have to work on this. And it's actually so valuable. And like asking those questions gets you to the next level, I feel like. And it's just, but you have to have the boldness to do that. I think that's not so easy to do either.
Absolutely. I think also always allow yourself to be mentally or psychologically injured, right? Because a lot of times with mental health, we go, okay, fine, we'll double down. We'll do more pitches. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If someone says something and you feel hurt, take a week, take 2 weeks, or something else. Work yourself back out as if you strained a muscle, right? And get back into it and ramp up to it. That way you have time to really sit and think about it and how you can apply it best for you.
I love that analogy. That is actually the best analogy I've heard in a long time. No, honestly, I don't know. I've not heard that before. And I think it's really good. Like you're saying, because a lot of people, everyone's talking about mental health at the moment, but I think that, like, there's so much talk about it. But like, you're right, we injure a muscle, you're not going to be like, okay, I'm going to the gym again tomorrow. Like, so why is it that, if you got mentally beat, like, you don't want to keep going through that same thing over and over again? And that's because it is demoralizing. And that's what happened to me. I was going through these pitches. I probably just wasn't actually like ready from the last one. It's like, I guess, at a rebound from a relationship, you're still heartbroken from the last one. You're not going to bounce to the next one, what people do, and it's never going to end well. So it's like, I feel like that's what I did. And I just was like, right, I'm taking a break from it all. Took a complete break, reset, and went back to basically being me. And we just kept winning pitches. So it just changed everything. Like it was so crazy, but it's true. I love the kind of like, break from it all. I think that's mental. So I mean, see, there you go. Running a business exactly like stand-up comedy.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
We should switch. See how we get on.
Oh man, you want to lose pitches before? Ooh, what are we doing? I have no idea.
No, this will help me with my mental like agility and to like get really booed on stage. I'd love to see. I gotta try once. I just want one laugh. That's it. I just want to make one person laugh. I just hear a laugh and I'm like, yes, I'm done. Off.
And you're retired mid-set. Yeah. My job here is done.
My job. Exactly what I'm gonna do.
You heard it first.
But okay, so like you are now like, doing everything. You seem like you've got your life sorted. You seem so happy. It seems like you've kind of love what you're doing, right? And that's what's so important. But how did you get here? It's kind of been like you said, you're in your 30s and you're commentating on like computer games. Like, I mean, you did not, I'm guessing, set out and go to college and be like, right, that's what I'm going to do when I'm older. So what was your journey? How did you end up here?
Well, this could be a long story, so please cut out this for Will, because when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a financial analyst. That was the teenage goal, because I had one of those career books. They're like, you make money. I'm like, cool. I remember growing up in Brooklyn, immigrant parents. I was like, yeah, money. Did it for a year, hated it. But my internship was at a place called Citigroup at the time, and they put me in the media department, and they did what they call industrials, basically like video packages that are just made for the bank. Like, here's our 10 reasons why our company is great. The videos that play in the lobby, we walk in there. And I saw the editing team, and these guys didn't wear suits and ties. They wore polo shirts and khakis, and they cut movies on the Avid. I go, oh, I want to be a movie star, movie maker, or whatever. So I got to California. I went to college first, but I went to graduate school in California because I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a video editor, a film editor. Did that for 3 years. Got out, couldn't find work for about 2.5 years. A friend that worked at Fox Broadcasting got me on a show. I think it's actually bigger over there. The X Factor with Simon Cowell. I was on that show doing the digital stuff. So I was just cutting the clips for Hulu. Like, here's what you missed last week, kind of thing. I was cutting that for a while. One day, my boss was like Googling me on the interwebs and found out that I wrote short stories, and I published some books on Amazon. He goes, hey, look, can you write some of the copy and content for these clips? So now when you go to Hulu and it's like, here is the top 7 things you missed. I did that for Fox Broadcasting for about 2 years. American Idol, seasons 12 and 13, X Factor USA, seasons 2 and 3. Basically, it was a place where Fifth Harmony got their start. Hey, they kicked me out there. I was trying to make that happen. I tried to put, mind you, I had 2 college degrees, couldn't find work. I was too overqualified. I did a lot of odd jobs, delivered groceries here. I was a delivery person there. I went door to door and I sold hand sanitizer. until one day I was DJing on the side. I was DJing waiting on the side. So when my day job let me go on Thanksgiving Day, 1 November.
Thanksgiving.
Well, they didn't quite let me go. I got a phone call from accounts payable saying, "Hey, how's it going, Flobo? We want to know where to send your 401k disbursement." I'm like, "What?" Like, sorry. And so I called my boss, and then I got let go that way.
God, what a Thanksgiving present that is. Jesus.
Yeah, it happens, man. USA. So I went to my closet, dusted off my old DJ deck, and I started a DJ business that day because it was November, engagement season. I said, let me get some weddings here to get myself something to eat, basically. And so I was I still am. I was a DJ through 17 November on. And that was like my main day job, and it still is. But during the week, we don't work as much. There's not many Tuesday weddings happening, but there's always free time. It was like, well, okay, I'll learn to write comedy here, wrote more stuff there, got to esports, I played the game in my downtime. So everything kind of based off that. I didn't want to be a business owner, had no plans to be. I grew up in a household where it was like, get a good job, work in a good office, wear a good tie. But I was basically pushed out there by corporate America. And so I was like out the plane without the parachute, trying to make things work. And so why I got here today is because everything I loved and enjoyed, I had the time to do it, because I'm sitting here right now as we record. It's President's Day, it's a holiday, right? But I'm sitting here 11 o'clock in the morning talking with you, which if I was in the office, I couldn't even do that. So I am grateful. And not on the days I got to pay rent. Those days are scary. But any other day, I am grateful to be here,
But that story is so intriguing because it's like people always say like, the founder stories are quite interesting of how it happened, but you took a job in a financial institution, but actually found your media career because of that job, actually. So it shows you that stuff happens. But also I thought what's enlightening was that you had what sounds like an ideal role as well, like writing that content and creating content for like the likes of like Hulu and like obviously the X Factor and stuff like that. Like so you lost that job, but right. Surely like those contacts would have set you up for another job. Like how did they not set you up for another job? That's what I would have thought. Like that's such a big position, surely, like saying like I did this, guys, like all my content's here, you've probably read it, watched it, all that stuff. How did you not land another job with that background?
So this is interesting. There's two things going on. One, we're in Los Angeles, so everyone says things to your face and it doesn't happen. Not trying to say people are fake. That's very cynical, but it's like, oh yeah, man, I'll keep my ear out for you. And you have to realize, do you mean that or not? But Fox, even back then, was going through reorganization. So this is kind of getting into the weeds of it, but Fox basically started off as a print company, the Wall Street Journal, and they had print and they had everything else. And after everything else, that got cut off into different sections and quartered off in different silos. Digital, writing, on air, like this structure didn't make any sense. I mean, no company runs like that. So when I was working with them in 2011, 12, they were trying to reorganize that because there was obviously way more money in digital than in print. And so jobs got eliminated. People were all out of work. So a lot of my contacts were out of work themselves. So it was kind of like the ones that were really wanting to be helpful had no means to, and the ones that had their job were pretty much holding onto your life raft and being like, yeah, man, I'll look for a job for you. No problem. So that's kind of what happened there.
It's funny because like, obviously we see LA on TV all the time, right? Like that is like you said, I'm sure that you have perceptions of London, right? Everyone thinks that we sit around just drinking tea. I mean, I am literally drinking tea right now, so I can't really say anything, but like, it's
my parents are West Indian. We drink tea all the time too. It's cool.
I feel like, LA has this like persona, and it looks cutthroat, like Hollywood, like on all the movies, people say their last dollar to trek on a Greyhound to LA to start their media career, and they just, like you said, like sleep on the streets or couch surf anywhere they can or do anything they can to make their way in Hollywood. How realistic is that to what we see on TV?
I think that there are people that come out to LA with like their last $1,000 or $2,000 to make it happen. And I would say people from Los Angeles are really good people. They're very wholesome people. It's really transplants that want to come with the new persona. That's where the fakeness of LA comes from. But there isn't like there's no soap opera main villain guy with salt and pepper hair, the suit looking down on you doing this. It's unfortunately people you meet that go, oh man, I love what you're doing. We should have you on our show. It never happens. So if anything, I've found so many people where I think this might be the opportunity, this might be the break, and it fizzles out more than anyone else ever telling me you're not good enough. Plus, the housing market is not great here. I think an average one bedroom now, I have rent control, thankfully, but the average one bedroom now is about $2,100 US for a one bedroom, $2,200 US. So like, you have to be in a certain position to even afford to put yourself in the lottery to get yourself successful. This is why, compared to most other cities, it's okay to have flatmates. I'm trying here. Flatmates until your 30s, 40s, until you're married, basically. So it's kind of a high difficulty, but it's not ruthless in like personalities that much. It's just more like, yo, this is set up for me to fail financially almost every day. Because how you go to an audition at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday if you are working 9 to 6 in an office to afford the apartment you can't afford? It's just, yeah.
I guess in some ways then that lifestyle forces you to kind of get into like creator mode, entrepreneur mode, because like if you want to make it big in Hollywood and like you said you want to do all these auditions, you need a flexible schedule. Like you just said, you can't just run out and just go and go do that. Like I mean, I'm a big Friends fan. I don't know if you watch Friends as a TV show.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm like a massive Friends fan, so I can relate like everything to Friends. But there's like an episode where Joey's doing that. Like Joey is obviously trying to be an actor, and it's in New York, but it's still. And he gets a job in like Central Park Cafe, and he just like wants to go to this audition, but he's been left in charge, so he just like closes the cafe and was like, "Right, guys, we're closed," and then goes to his audition, and then comes back and gets fired. Like so that's how I imagine it would be. Like, so you kind of forced into entrepreneurship, surely, if you want to make a career in Hollywood.
And this is why a lot of people roll into influencer stuff or content creation, because they can schedule that content to release whenever they want. So they'll say, hey, look, Sunday's my content day. I have a lot of friends who do that. Sunday they go out, take all these photo shoots, all these videos to cut that. And today, almost like meal prep, and then roll out for the week so they can have that illusion they're doing something while they're at their job to make some ends meet. And that's what makes it so difficult. Plus, you got your friends and family that throw it in your face. Oh, how's it going, Hollywood? I don't see you on TV. But you know what I mean? That becomes an extra like psychological pressure to go out there and to achieve and to be successful.
But yeah, I think that's also the problem. Like your friends don't get it probably as well. Your family doesn't get it. Like you said, you're from a immigrant family, parents who came to the US. They probably trained you to be like, right, I want you to have a good education. I want you to go and like be like whatever kind of profession that's got like trusted money. Like, what did they want you to do, and how did they react when you decided to like be a rebel and go into like media?
Well, the inside incident was like, I want to be a filmmaker, and it's funny. That was the first one, because my mom, she's from a time and place where there weren't many opportunities for women, right? On the islands. It was like you be a nurse or a teacher or a banker. So my mom picked to be a nurse because I allowed her to go to Scotland to do her midwifery as she did. So that was her way out. So she's kind of like that parent, like, I don't know what filmmaking is, but if it gets you out and you want to do it, then go ahead and do it. Just to give her a bit of a background. I am left-handed. My mom is too. But when she was a kid, they tied her left hand down and forced her to write with her right hand. So when I came out left-handed, she was like, fine, just be left-handed. Because oh yeah, you didn't know this? So okay.
No.
So in some cultures, okay, in Latin, right? The word for right, like right-handed, is dexter. Like ambidextrous, like the word for left in the Latin is sinister. So for a lot of people who are devout, like Catholics or devout Anglicans, or devout Protestants, it was seen that, hey, look, if you write with your left hand, that is a devil's hand. My mom's time. So when she was a kid, they forced her to tie her arm behind her back, and they forced her to write with her right hand. So when I came out writing left-handed, she was like, whatever, just do what makes you happy. Because I've been in situations where I was supposed to be guided a certain way. I have faith. I can't understand what you want to do, but go ahead. My dad was not nearly as accommodating, because he came up here as an engineer, here being in the United States. He, being an engineer, got a job with the New York City Transit Authority. He got a good job, worked his way up through racism, through everything else. And he's like, I can do it. You can too. So as a compromise of all the ways to make a film, I had to say, Dad, I want to be a film editor, because they're actually using the computer to make these happen. You can understand the computer science aspect of it, rather than me being like, I want to be a writer, which is what I really want to be. I want to be a writer, I want to be a director, but I said, I want to be an editor so they can understand it. This is because I wouldn't have got the blessing even though I now looking back, I'm like, well, who needs blessings? Am I right? But now back then you wanted it because I was going from Brooklyn, New York to Los Angeles or Orange County, California. I wanted my parents to be like, at least, hey, look, we have faith you're going to be successful.
How do they feel now? Like, do they look at you and be like, okay, I'm really proud, I get what you do, or do they still not get what you do? Like, how do they feel now?
Well, my dad is kind of like, as long I live my life. I'm old. He's sick in the 70s now. I live my life as long you can feed yourself, fine. He's given up in that way. Great. I'll take it. I'll take giving up. And I'll give you a perfect example about how my mom feels. So as I record this, last week, Rocket League, which is the game I commentate on, had a first ever Black History Month special on their main Twitch channel. And I was asked to be a commentator for that. Didn't know it was going to be on the main channel. I thought it was going to be some side thing because, Black History Month in the United States is kind of like, it's there, but don't really like, Black History. It's more like, is it over yet? So anyway, I'm commentating this game and it blew my mind that, actually, I'll ask you, how many people do you think tuned in to watch me commentate this video game? I'm just curious.
I have no idea what the numbers are. I mean, it's obviously going to be loads, otherwise you wouldn't be telling the story.
Yeah. Well, on average, I'll get like 20
50,000.
But yes, 30,000 people came out for specifically a Black History Month special. So I was hyped.
That's huge.
Because that's way bigger than any comedy show I've ever done. So I clipped it out, showed it to my mom, and she's like, I don't know what's going on here, but you sound so happy. And that's all I want. I'm like, yeah, you got me.
Yeah, that's so cute.
So it's kind of like this thing where they know they're uncharted waters, but if I can keep this momentum going and get the profile up, keep writing the blogs, keep sharing experiences with people, and I say, hey, Mom, look, I'm making it happen in my own way, then I'm happy.
I think that's I can relate massively just because my parents are the same. Like my mum's Chinese, my dad's Jamaican, and they came to the UK and, and my mum's so traditional. She's like very much like, what do people do for a living? They must be this and this, like, because that's Chinese culture. And like, my brothers are both doctors. Like I went to medical school originally. And then like, when you sort of like drop out and realize it's not for you and like go into entrepreneurship, like, my parents still don't really understand what I do. Like they don't really get it. Like I think that for several years as well, like when I struggled, they were just like, what is she doing kind of thing, because like they don't, but then I think over the last couple of years they were like, okay, she's bought a flat in London, like she actually like seems to be doing well. And then I went out to visit them the other weekend, and they're out in Portugal at the moment. I just went out and I just had the best weekend, like just seeing them, like spending time with them, and I was catching them up on all the stuff I'm doing. And as I was leaving, my dad said the same thing. He was just like, it's been so great spending time with you and seeing you, and it's just even better to see you so happy. That's what he said to me as well. He said the same thing. And like I don't think they still quite get what I do, but that was the first weekend they sat and listened about everything about what I do and listened to me explain how different it is in my industry compared to what they went through and how the times have changed and the difficulties I'm facing. And I think they sort of understood it, but they were like, we're just so happy to see you happy. And it was just so nice, like that was just, it was great. Yeah,
it's a weird feeling because like you're at the age now, you're like, I don't necessarily need validation. You're given to me anyway. All right, this is great. This is icing on the cake, Well, fantastic. So you're West Indian and Chinese as well. Is your mom from Jamaica, Chinese, or she's like from China, Chinese?
So she's from Malaysia, but she's Chinese, so Malaysian Chinese, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So was that difficult for you? I'm sorry, I'm going to make an interview about you now. But was that difficult for you growing up with the mix of cultures and what you wanted to do? Did you get the same pressure to get a job? Like the day job, or?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so I love the mix of cultures. I love traveling. I love understanding all that stuff. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's because I am so mixed, but like I've got Chinese and Jamaican, but I live in England and very British and brought up along the way. So obviously I have such a range of cultures in me, and I love finding out about people's cultures for that reason. But yeah, definitely did have the pressures of that. Like I played the piano and I played the violin and I played chess. I mean, come on, like that's like so what don't you Chinese. Do, Sabrina? No, but it was like the most Chinesey things to do. but at the same time, I was in like the athletics team and I did the Jamaican side of me, and I was like, it was like it was It was a really
Yeah.
weird balance, but like I definitely had that sort of pressure to, you know, to go into kind of like being more the traditional sort of thing. But you know, they still, the thing is with my parents, they are very, very good parents. They'll be there for you no matter what. So they were they were definitely disappointed when I decided not to go down the traditional path, but they always supported me and they were always there for me, and I still think they don't quite understand, but they're still always there for me, which is really nice. But it definitely did feel weird, like it was a very strange kind of experience.
So here's a question I ask a lot of my creative friends, and please roll with me here. Assuming you have children or theoretical children, is there a job that they would do that would give you the same kind of like, you sure you want to do that? But because I kind of feel like I've been through so many different odd jobs, unless they wanted to be a career Uber driver, I couldn't, even then, I'm like, well, as long as like doing it,
even
like,
then, I don't know.
I can't even think of a job where it's like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this.
I mean, legal jobs. Like, I mean, because I mean,
politics, yeah.
there's a few jobs which I would definitely be like, no, like, but they're illegal. So let me talk about the normal jobs. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna start the London Mafia. Like, I don't know, like I feel like something like that would be like
best mafia ever, because you're my son.
I was like, let me watch The Sopranos with you and educate you. Like, I'm here.
Right.
but do you know what? Do you know what's so funny? We've been having this conversation, doing what I do. I think, say if I had a teenage daughter or something at this stage, if my teenage daughter came home to me like, Mummy, I want to be an influencer, I don't think I'd be that happy with it. Like, but depending on what type of influencer she wants to be, because there's a difference to me between content creator and influencer in terms of how some people do it. Content creators are freaking genius, like, in my opinion. Like, the stuff that they have to do on a day-to-day basis, people don't realize how much hard work goes into what they do. It's hard. And like, being that good at something, like I said, you're an entertainer, like even with like, you know, the TikTok videos that people do, that's pretty impressive what they do. But then there's like certain influencers I don't necessarily agree with, and they just look pretty and then like essentially post a picture of something. I guess it's like being a model, but like they didn't even work to get that modeling career, if you see what I mean. They just do a bunch of selfies, and then the reason why I'm saying that is because I wouldn't want my supposed daughter to grow up thinking that's the only thing looks is all about, that's all they care about. In terms of, there are some fantastic influencers online, by the way, who obviously have other angles of what they do, and they influence in other ways. So for example, there's lots of people who are like, lots of women out there now who are trying to do like body positive stuff, and you know, like that stuff is unbelievable, because I know even I've scrolled through thinking like they've posted this stuff and there's all these people going, you're beautiful. I'm like, okay, so you know, it's you don't have to be stick thin to be hot these days. And like that's I really like that's got an angle. But I do think that, you know, if all you're about is doing selfies with that duck face and you're just like, and then like, thank you, that'd be like $3,000 please, and I'm like, like, you know, at least have a message, at least have a purpose behind it. So say if you're doing that, but like even the people who do like makeup tutorials, for example, they are artists. You know, it's people who sit there and they'll be like, show you how to do that's art as well. I think that's a skill. Whereas I think if you were straight up just taking selfies and you don't really have a higher purpose, I don't agree with that. I think that probably applies to any job. If you don't have a purpose and you're not actually, you know, positively influencing someone to do something, I don't think I'd be okay with that. There's you know, which is interesting, we're having this conversation, and this is obviously what I do. I deal with influence on a daily basis, like, you know, what I do, but I don't know.
I think it will come with a craft, you know, like if it's the person that is the model going to model in school, doing content about their school experience, or someone doing those beauty tips and crafting things and saying, hey, look, I bought this is what works for me. That's fine, because you can say, hey, look, I employ the funnel. I know how money works. I know how transition works. I know how business works. But you're right. If you're in your room, and I know I say this kind of ironic because this is what I'm doing. If you're in your room and saying, I'm making content, it's like, great. But you don't really know the value of it because you have nothing to base it off of. If my kid races go-karts and takes pictures of that, then you can say, hey, look, they went out, they paid the fees or whatever. They know that the time and money put into it, they get that return. I think that to me is enough to be like, as a dad, job's done. You get the value of it. But I can't imagine being in my room like, I'm gonna do a selfie today.
But the thing is, they must offer value to other people because millions of people follow them. So millions of people are interested in that stuff. And I think that's my issue, is that I don't really like any of. So in the UK, I don't know how it is in the US. I think it probably is the same. But the most famous people in the UK right now are reality TV stars. Those are the most famous people in the UK. Like any celebrities, if you were to ask, I reckon if you were to ask on the street to name top 10 celebrities, I reckon they'd all be like reality TV stars, pretty much, bar like maybe footballers if you ask them. But you know what I mean? Like that would be like that's what would happen. And that's what's huge at the moment. Again, they've got famous for being desperate to be famous. And that's not cool, in my opinion. Like that is like how, you know, as a parents, like, you know, we just talked about the traditional families or whatever, what our parents went through to, you know, I can't imagine, like, even if I had loads of millions of pounds or whatever, and I was like, you know, really famous, but I got it for like sleeping with David Beckham or whatever the people like, you know, got like back in the day, that person, I don't remember her name, like Rebecca Luz or whatever her name was, like all these people now are just like desperately trying to, you know, claim to fame of sleeping with a celebrity or whatever. I don't think that's cool. Like that's not cool at all. Like I just think that my parents would be hugely disappointed, I would like to think. And I think I would like to think that I would be hugely disappointed in my children if that's all they had to offer. Obviously, like the fact that there are people out there who do that, and there are people out there who just try to hunt down celebrities to get pregnant by them and stuff like that. I think that's disgusting. And absolutely. I just can't ever imagine anything like that. I think that, you know, you need to actually have a skill, and like I said, you know, influence out there, there are influencers out there who they are influencers because people care about it. So I feel like it's not them to blame. They are using what they got given and they're using their popularity, but it's the people who are watching it, following it and commenting on them who are the problem.
I think it's a good balance then. So you're open to do whatever you want as long as you do it by something you've done on your own. So something you can learn or do on your own. So yeah,
I guess so. I guess
because getting pregnant or getting someone pregnant, depending on the gender, is not necessarily an achievement in this sphere. But if someone decided to be like the best tap dancer in the world and then get a reality show for tap dancing, then we're good.
That's different. I think being like the best at anything in the world, and regardless of how ridiculous I might find it, is still a bloody good achievement. I think absolutely being like, you know, working hard at something is honorable at anything, regardless of what it is. Like I think working hard at trying to steal someone's sperm, however, is not, like, you know, that's where I draw the line.
This is no bullshit talk, so welcome back. I love it. This is awesome.
So, gotcha.
I'm out.
Okay, you asked my thought. Oh my god, can you imagine if, like, now I said a 14-year-old daughter, in, like, you know, in however many years' time, if I have a teenage daughter and I play this back to her.
This is some advice for the future.
But you know, the ironic thing at that point, I'll probably be an influencer.
Right. She wants to be a vet or something, like something very
I'm like, oh my god, just take some selfies in your bedroom, honey. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Get a following that way.
So there you go. Oh my god. Okay, I can't believe that I'm gonna end this show on talking about sperm bandits, like, you know, like I think I need to ask you for some better, more inspirational advice to leave this on. I can't leave it on that note. So I want to. Okay.
Let's do it.
I want to ask you. So, like you said, we talked about this there, like a lot about, you know, making it in this world. Like you said, finding something to be good at and you know, be good at that. We talked about different advice that you could give to people who are starting out, but you know, there's other people who have also had this journey and it's not so easy. But what if someone doesn't necessarily have the right, like, you know, the right equipment, for example? All you need is a cell phone, I guess, these days, people say, but is that all you need? Like, how would you advise someone to, say, build up a following in terms of, should it be on TikTok, should it be on Instagram? Like, where do you go these days? It's like, do you start a podcast? Like, I feel like all of it's so time consuming, and if you try to kind of go on every different platform, you're going to be so overwhelmed. So where would you recommend people start, and how would they start?
So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to be everywhere at once. Granted, you should park your social medias in case you want to go there someday in the future. Think ahead, but you don't want to go there everywhere because it can be too much. And a lot of times you are going to be by yourself. People who can do that everywhere have a team. The Rock probably has a team of people out there posting for him wherever. But I would say go where you're most comfortable. Like don't try to chase trends. There's YouTube stars, there's TikTok stars. In fact, next Sunday, I am commentating a celebrity boxing match versus Instagram influencers against TikTok influencers.
No.
And those are people who decided to pick those platforms and ramp their following up that way. I kid you not, it's true. But yes, so they can pick and choose when they works for you. I personally, I'm not a fan. I'm on TikTok. I just do clips of other things and put them on TikTok. But if you do the TikTok dancing thing, I'm over Instagram Reels guy myself. But if you're more on the TikTok thing, why not lean into that? Because if you can find a following, you can find a tribe, they're more willing to migrate with you than you putting the same content in 8 different places, hoping something hits.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. And I think but how would you determine, which is the right platform for you? Loads of people say TikTok. You don't have to dance on TikTok. There are lots of other things to do on TikTok. This is a common question is should businesses be on TikTok? It's a common thing people have asked. I think that, you could still be on TikTok and offer actual good advice. It doesn't have to be a shuffle dance or whatever,
Yeah. Well, the thing for marketing, because that was one of my previous careers as well, A/B testing. When I started doing my Reels content, I had what was called podcasting advice tips on my Instagram at Flobito, plug. I tried them on TikTok and I tried them on Instagram, and I got a lot more return engagement on Instagram, and I had a bigger following on Instagram to begin with. So my followers essentially share that content where I can determine with the data. I go, okay, I'm gonna lean into my content there. And you're right, it's me sitting here. I make sure it's at night so it looks aesthetically similar with a little bit of the caption, little gimmick, and the title, and that's it. So there's no dances, there's no voiceover, is me shooting straight stuff. And so I don't want to underestimate the power of A/B testing. If you have an Instagram post and Twitter post, try it out certain times of the day. I know my fans are engaged between the hours of 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. Pacific time on Twitter and Instagram. That's where most of my content goes. That's where I mostly fall into it. So I said, don't be afraid to experiment to see what works for you, because there isn't one answer for everyone. And yes, business can be on TikTok. And yes, your art project can be on WhatsApp. You can have a Telegram group. There's other ways to do it. Traditional social media, which is kind of weird to say now, but traditional social media isn't the only way. In fact, I actually had a guest on my podcast, New Amsterdam Radio, which is like my arts and culture podcast. She did those kind of real TikTok-like content, but on Rizzle, which is the biggest TikTok of India, because TikTok is actually banned in that country. So imagine you're in California and you're going, I'm gonna put this content on this Indian app, and that has 2 million followers for her. And those 2 million followers are mostly Indians, of course, but they're able to follow her for other things. So please go out there, experiment, A/B test, see what works for you.
Wow. I didn't even know Rizzle existed. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being such an amazing guest on today's show. Where can our listeners find you? Where do you want them to hit you up?
Oh man, I am all over the interwebs. Flobito.com, FLOBITO.com is my personal website. If you want to know more about the podcast I run and host, newamsterdam.com, KNEW Amsterdam.com. And if you want to know more about my life lessons, graduation day, or life lessons from the real world, available now on Amazon. The story goes, when I graduated college, the person doing my commencement speech was like a store manager at Walmart. I could do better than that. But now in this book, Graduation Day, I look back on certain inspirational stories from my life and how I can apply it to my life, like how I went to Italy with no money in my pocket, but beef jerky to make sure a wedding happened to really grow my business, or how I rode a motorcycle for the first time and almost killed myself. Graduation Day, available now at Amazon.
That's what the next podcast I'm going to get you on to do, because I'm going to read that book and then I'm going to ask you all these stories. Good.
Yeah.
They just sound so good.
I'm
definitely
here.
going to do that. Yeah. Well, that's part of it, right? It's like, learning life and how to navigate and actually how to survive. Like sometimes that's it. Like being still here is that it shows you that you're resilient, and I think that's it. You never know what's around the corner next.
Thank you.
But thank you so much. It's been amazing. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. And do hit up Flobo and check out some of his commentary. And I'll definitely try and rope you into doing some chess commentary. That'll be hilarious. So stay tuned and watch this space for that. But thanks, everyone. And I'll see you next week on the episode of No Bullshit Talks.